Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to your Watford 1, Manchester City 3 match review. We're going to be talking about yesterday's disappointing defeat in the end, but there was some positive to take, and even more positive, I thought, to take away from that Chelsea result the week before. Apologies, we didn't get around to doing a video. Combination of work and people being busy, but we couldn't get that one to you. But today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Watford's performance and result yesterday. Quick update, Sam isn't available and neither is Shano. Shano couldn't do it before 3 o'clock. I'm pretty sure he's probably he's out at the minute, or he's keeping tabs on the F1. I know Shane's a massive F1 fan. But so it's just me today. Kind of break down the video. We're going to start off with my thoughts on the game. We'll move over to the comment section, look ahead to Watford's next 5 fixtures, which are certainly more winnable than the previous 5 that we've had. And then we're going to be looking at what these 2 performances against Chelsea and Manchester City, despite them ending in defeat, what they mean for Watford as the kind of overall complex of the season. Look, thank you very much for joining us today. I know it's on a Sunday evening. I know it's late. And there's a few comments in already. So we'll get straight into it. Look, Watford did finish Watford 1, Manchester City 3. We'll go through the lineup first of all. So Daniel Backman was in goal, Danny Rose, Cathcart, Troost-Ekong, Femini as the back 4. Imran Loser in that holding midfield role, and then Emmanuel Dennis, Tom Cleverley, Moussa Sissoko, João Pedro with Joshua King leading the line. It was the 4-3-3 that Ranieri's deployed since he's come into the club, bar that kind of Liverpool game. This is the formation that he really likes. It seems like he started to get a bit of consistency with the lineup. Of course, the one change was Danny Rose coming in for Adam Messina, who's picked up a thigh injury, and he seems to be out for a long time, Adam Messina. So I certainly think Watford will be delving into the transfer market come January, or I hope they do anyway. Defensive recruitment hasn't been brilliant, I don't think, over the last 5-6 years. Sierralta is probably the best centre-back that we've signed, but there's some glaring defensive holes at the back for Watford, not only with Sierralta and Nkulu being out injured, now Messina at left-back, but also you just feel that is that back line good enough to keep us in the Premier League at the minute? The back line that was out yesterday and the game before, I don't think so. So that's an area that Watford needs to be looking at, and we'll delve into that later on in the video. But that was the team that Watford went with. And within the first 10 minutes, even 5 minutes, with that first goal from Manchester City with Raheem Sterling in the 4th minute, it just really set the tone, I thought. I think Batman mentioned it in his post-game comments, which were, you always fear when Man City score in the first 10 minutes, that it's going to be a long, long game and long evening. And I thought Watford did well some would argue that City kind of took their foot off the pedal and foot off the gas, whereas Watford, I thought, did well to kind of grow into the game, because there's been plenty of times, particularly against Manchester City, where we have crumbled after that first goal and then the second one comes and you know it's going to be a battering at that point. The game that really stands out for me, actually not the FA Cup finals, when we went to the Etihad away under Quique Sanchez-Flores and lost 8-0. You knew within, I think it was 5 goals in 17 minutes in the end, but you knew within the first couple of minutes, the game was only going one way. And I feared that when Raheem Sterling scored. We'll look at that goal in more detail, because one frustration for me watching Watford at the minute, particularly that back line, is how easy we can be kind of pushed around by the opposition. And that was kind of highlighted even more against a team that does move it as well as Manchester City. It almost went from one side to the other, and the man I wanted to pick out, and I don't like picking out individuals, and it's nothing personal to a player, but Danny Rose has to be questioned. Raheem Sterling is eventually the goal scorer, and Danny Rose has to be picking up Raheem Sterling. It was just a case of Cathcart getting drawn in a little bit closer to Grealish, where it was that false 9 that they set up with, and all the defenders started getting dragged across, which is normal in the respect that is going to happen, but you have to mark your men, and Danny Rose didn't do that, and ultimately I would argue, was at fault for the first goal. I think Kiko could have done a bit better to close him down, if being hypercritical, but certainly it was an avoidable goal. And as I said, you thought that would set the tone. Bernardo Silva, the next one, it does again come down from that Danny Rose side. He has a decision to make. He follows his runner, or he goes into Grealish. Now, the sensible thing to do in that position would be to jock in and keep that defensive line really nice and tight. Danny Rose, again, a lapse of concentration where he just smashes into Jack Grealish. And again, that leaves the space. And then as soon as City get into that last 20, 25 yards, and with the quality they have, with the likes of Bernardo Silva, with the likes of Jack Grealish, the list goes on. There's so many So many players that can hurt us. And it got to the point where you're looking at Danny Rose thinking, why have you made that decision there? And it's come down his side. Yeah, he's got to be doing better. He shouldn't be diving in at that point. And there was a couple of ricochets of Troost-Ekong, Cathcart, again sloppy, and then Batman beat at his near post. But having said that, I'm not going to be critical of Batman because he had a fantastic performance yesterday, and I'd go as far as to say Watford's man of the match. Could he have done better for the goal? Absolutely. But overall, his performance was so good that, he kept the score down. There was no doubt about it. And anyway, after that goal, you felt that Watford kind of did okay to get to half-time at 2-0. I think if you'd said after the first goal that we'd be at half-time at 2-0, you probably would have taken it. We come out the second half. Ranieri makes a couple of changes. He changes Imran Loser, Tom Cleverley, brings on Cucho and Kutska. And I'd imagine the thought process with those substitutions was Cucho has something to prove. He's playing for a place. He's not probably the first name on the team sheet in that front three. And with Sarr injured, he's got a real chance to stake a claim. And I think he's given Ranieri a little bit of a selection dilemma going into Brentford on Friday. I thought Cucho was really good when he came on. Not only his goal, but his hassling, his harrying. He looked like he was a player who had a point to prove. And I think that's a dilemma for Claudio Ranieri going into the Brentford game on Friday. Do you put in Cucho and Andes? I don't think he will. I think he'll continue with that front three of Pedro, King, and Emmanuel Dennis. But I thought Cucho did well when he came on, and his goal was thoroughly deserved. He was the one bright spark, one of the biggest bright sparks of Watford's performance yesterday. Other player who brought on was Jura Kutska. I think probably just number one to rest Cleverley and Loser going into a big game on Friday, but also Kutska gives you a little bit of more bite in the tackle. And I think that's probably the main reason why he brought him on. Go to the midfield pivot of Kutska and Sissoko, with Pedro a little bit further forward, and then Cucho, Dennis, and King as the front three. So look, Watford, I thought second half was better than the first half. Certain players I thought played particularly well. I thought Cucho, as I said, played well. I thought Sissoko again put in a good display. I thought he was really good against Chelsea last week. Daniel Batman was obviously the main standout and our man of the match. I don't think there's any doubting that. But yeah, it's one of those games where you don't want to be hypercritical because Watford did well. I thought there was some positive to take. Batman, Cucho, midfield, Sissoko, I thought play well. But these are not the games that are going to define whether Watford stay up in the Premier League. They're not at all. It's the next 5 fixtures, which we'll get into. But certainly just, diving away from that Manchester City performance, which, on another day, had Batman not had a better, maybe Batman had a bit of an off day, it could have been a couple more. So I think to come away with 3-1 with actually scoring as well, it's not a bad scoreline. We know Manchester City have a lot of quality. We know what happened when we played Liverpool. Those big results can happen. And I felt with the Liverpool result, that could have derailed our season. But with the Manchester City result, you feel that damage limitation, I don't like to use that phrase, but it does come into it a little bit at 3-0. That could have easily been 4 or 5, but to actually pull one back and 3-1 means confidence isn't going to be dented that much. We've rested a couple of key midfield starters, I think, in Imran Loser and Tom Cleverley. We've given Cucho more minutes, which is good. But also it's given us opportunity to, again, reinforce the glaring holes in this Watford team, which is centre-backs, left-back. I actually think right-back needs to be addressed as well come January because Kika Feminier, yes, he's good going forward, but it's happened a couple of times, particularly I think both the Chelsea goals were down his side. Again, I didn't think he was amazing yesterday. I know they're against 2 top opposition, but I just think Kiko does have an individual error in him. He's really frustrating players, we all know, with Kiko, because on the one hand, he'll put in a fantastic display down the right-hand side, and then another day, defensively, just lapses in concentration. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on yesterday's performance. Look, moving on to Chelsea. Oh, have we got Sam in the chat? Oh, Sam Yuko at the back.
Well, I'll just drop you a message, Jacob. I've got 10 minutes, and I was just like, do you know what?
Unbelievable. Sam,
at the back post.
Sorry, mate. I only just saw your message. Sam, anything agree with what I mentioned about City?
No, I don't think so. I think you were spot on with all of it. I think the main one to take away from is that it's not going to define our season. It's the next week, I think, is absolutely massive. I look at the Brentford away game, drop points again today. I look at the Burnley away game, which is absolutely massive, losing at Newcastle for them yesterday. They probably won't have Maxwell Cornet, who probably looks like he'll be out for a few weeks with, I think it was a thigh injury or a hamstring. I couldn't really tell. And then obviously Crystal Palace at home, which, obviously has different implications for us as a fan base as well. So it is a massive week coming up for Watford going into the Christmas period. So really looking forward to it as well. I've come out of this period of 5 or 6 games, which we were really nervous about on the channel. We've come out relatively positively in the fan base. Probably the most disappointing result was Leicester, because I thought they were there for the taking. But overall, we've come out with 3 points, and you have to be happy with that overall.
What a surprise. Christmas has come early here on WD18 with Sam. That post. James in the comment section, it's fair to say that we need our defence shored up come January, but on the whole, I like what I'm seeing. I have a good feeling if we, A, manage to stay up, and B, the club backs the manager in January. I think the second point particularly, obviously, we all want A, but B, I think it has to happen, Sam, doesn't it, come January? Not in terms of maybe like spending 20, 30 million on a player, because we know that's a rare situation with Watford. Sarr was probably the exception, but just getting some solid defenders in there, because I think you just said it, the glaring thing that, again, it's been confirmed, we all knew it, but that defence isn't good enough, is it? We're conceding way too many goals for fun. Have we actually kept the clean sheet?
No clean sheets this season, no. We've kept one this season in the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace, if you want to count that, but it's not convincing in the Premier League, and that's something that I want to see this week, because obviously if you offered me a couple of wins now, I'd take that, and it's difficult to say how many points I'd take, but if you offered me a couple of wins, I'd take that now. But if I had to ask for anything else on top of that, it's a clean sheet. I mean, I'd much rather win 1-0 than 4-3 on Friday night, for example, because I just think that the defence probably needs that confidence booster. I think Daniel Batman, while he had that good game yesterday, probably needs that confidence boost himself, having that clean sheet under his belt. There are just a couple of players in there. Just looks William Troost-Ekong again, just a mess. Danny Rose. Danny Rose is the weird one, because I really liked him, because I still think there's a sort of football IQ in there. I think there's a certain intelligence to him that I really, really like. However, he just looks past it. I think he's not bad as probably a backup, but saying that, he is a backup. He's been seen as understudy, and he's going to be playing for the foreseeable future if we don't bring someone in January. So, I think it's good that we know where we can improve, where Claudio Ranieri can focus on what he can focus on in training, and let's hope that this week we see us look more short at the back.
Yeah, sure, I agree with you. Look, as I said at the top of the show, I don't want to single out players on a personal basis, but one thing I would say about Danny Rose is that, I'd argue he's at fault for all 3 goals. I mean, he just got, Sam, you mentioned, I think we talked through the first one, he didn't track Sterling. The second one, he goes diving into Grealish, which gives the space for Bernardo Silva to do his magic. And the third one, look, it's a great finish, but you cannot.
It's criminal that. It's. I remember watching years ago. Arsenal lost a couple of times 5-1 to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and the one thing you can't do is let Iron Robin come in onto his right foot or left foot. I think it is. Yeah. And it's the same. It's the same thing. That's what I thought of yesterday when watching it. Just don't let Bernardo onto his left foot. What a player, by the way! Unbelievable. Because it got to a point where it got to 2-3-0, and I'm not one of those who clap a City goal or anything like that. But I sat there just because we weren't playing badly. I was quite happy throughout the whole game, even after the first half when we were 2-0 down. I was quite happy with our performance. But you just have to admire how good this Man City team are. Unbelievable. So relaxed and composed. That's why I think they'll win the league, because I think you saw the difference between when we pressed Chelsea, how they looked terrified at times, but when we pressed City, they loved it. They were more composed than anyone else I've ever seen. That's why I think they'll win the league. So certainly nothing to be too disheartened from, and it was about performances. We've seen 2 fantastic performances this week, and hopefully the players can take confidence from it.
Absolutely, mate. Tom Lewis in the comment section, the Athletics say we want an experienced left back in January. I mean, look, Danny Rose is an experienced left back, pardon me, but Josh Doy, I think, from Hibernian was linked, wasn't he?
In the summer, I think it was. Yeah,
he's quite young. I mean, I think it'd be a bit of a gamble, wouldn't it, Sam? Like, look, one aspect of that situation, which I think we forget about, is Kiko can play left. Almost looked better at times with playing at left back. You know what with Kiko, I actually think he's better at left back because he knows he can't bomb forward on his left foot.
Yeah,
he stays back. Whereas when he's right back, he's almost like a winger. which is great in a team which has a lot of the ball, but we don't. And
one thing that bothers me about both the fullbacks, less so with Adam Messina, because I actually think Adam Messina is the best at it. Same as Ngaki is good at it as well. Both Kiko and Rose like to turn their back on players running at them. And I think that just leaves us so exposed. I think one thing is I'm incredibly critical of William Troost-Ekong. I thought yesterday Craig Cathcart had another good game, by the way. I'm incredibly critical of Troost-Ekong, but I don't think he's helped at all by the protection from the fullbacks. And that is, again, something that is a big problem. I think a player who would have benefited from yesterday was Nicholas Nkulu, not necessarily because of his ability on the ball and off the ball, but because of the experience that he brings and that calm head. I think I saw a European football journalist say that Nkulu can be one of the best in the world, or at one point he was one of the best in the world. So, that just shows what we're missing. And sorry about that. That just shows what we're missing. And I really hope that he's back soon.
Absolutely, mate. I think Nkulu is a really good player. I remember at Arsenal away, I think it was his first start, wasn't it? He just looked so composed at the back. We miss someone like that because he give a bit of a short. No, he's very assured, and with Sierralta, I think that's probably the best two. But we certainly need some reinforcement in January. Yes, in the comment section, maybe try Kiko left back and Ngaki's right back. Emmanuel Dennis. I miss Shano. Sam and Jake were brilliant. Thank you very much, mate. You're having a great season so far. Rudy in the comment section. Centre back should also should be a big priority, especially with our amount of injuries. And yeah, Charlotte, you know what? That's a really good point. We also went into half-time 2-0 down against City in the cup final. We know how that ended. I feared the worst yesterday. However, this time we show real grit, and losing 3-1 is no disgrace. Absolutely, Charlotte. Completely agree with you. Sam, just on it won't be as long show today just because myself and Sam have to shoot off. But I think we pretty much covered everything about the City game, which is basically not to get too downbeat about it, about the result. The performance had some positives, and we know where we need to.
Just on that as well, by the way. So all three goals, you can argue, came from a mix of City's brilliance and individual errors. And they're both things that can be rectified because we're not going to play teams of City's quality until we play them again this season. Individual errors can just be looked at on the training ground and players improve. Absolutely nothing wrong with how we set up and Claudio's tactics yesterday. I love them, man. I love Claudio. What a guy.
He's like everyone's second granddad, isn't he?
Yeah, what a guy.
What a guy. I saw your tweet yesterday, Sam. You absolutely loving it. And Freddie did say Sam's Twitter is absolutely elite. Sam, look, looking at the last, how many games is it? Last 5 games, really. So the last 5 games was Arsenal, United, Leicester, Chelsea, Man City. 1 win, 4 defeats. How do you assess that last 5 before we look ahead to the next 5 fixtures?
Promising, very promising. Because if you spread those fixtures out over the season, say we had, I don't know, you put them 1 every 3 games out of those 5 games, you would have gone, all right, fair enough. It's a defeat against the top side. It's just the fact that they're all together that perhaps it looks a bit worse. And that Man United win, absolutely massive because, we'd be in the relegation zone, I think, without it. So I think certainly it's a really positive period, promising period for us to come out of. I think certainly if you look at where we've come from under Claudio, from that Liverpool game against the top side to the Chelsea and Man City game, the Leicester, Man United, Arsenal games, massive, massive improvement. So I think certainly there is promise there. However, we haven't seen this solid sort of new look Watford side with these new tactics with the high press come up against sort of teams around our level, such as, your Brentford, your Burnley, that sort of thing. So it's all about the next week, seeing if we really have made progress.
Yeah, completely agree. And then looking ahead to the next 5, Sam, Brentford, Burnley, Palace away, Brentford, Burnley away, Palace at home, Wolves away, and then West Ham at home before the new year. Easier said than done, and we put this out on our Twitter at WD18fans. How many points do you think we'll get out of those next 5?
I'm going to say 2 wins and a draw. I'd take 7 points now if you'd offered them to me. I think we'll win on Friday night. I don't think they'll have Ivan Toney either. Because I actually think, I know we've lost 2 games, but I actually think the confidence will be in a good place at the moment in the camp. I could just see us losing to Burnley, 1-0, Ashley Barnes, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was so
yeah, I think we'll beat Palace at the Vic. Then who are the last 2?
Last 2 we've got Wolves away.
And West Ham. Yeah, I think we'd lose both of those. think we
So
could
how
use
many points do you think we need to be picking up? Because I feel like the next 5, Sam, are pretty season-defining games for Watford.
7. I think 7 for me. 7's important. I think
7.
we can get 12. I think, but you have to be realistic. I think it's too much to ask for to get 4 wins out of 5. I think
7,
2 wins and a draw. I take it.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section how many you think we should be getting and how many you think we will get. A couple of questions in the comments. As Rudy says, the next 2 are absolutely massive, which are Brentford and Burnley away for Watford. Ian, in the comments, would you start the local man, aka Christian Kabasele, at Brentford because of the the defensive frailty that we've seen, Sam? It does beg the question: do you put Cabba in there?
I would as well. I would, because also Brentford have pace and behind, don't they? And the likes of Brian and Birmingham, I trust Kabasele much more than Troost-Ekong. Also, I feel like Brentford would absolutely they'll give us more time on the ball. Perhaps I think they'd set off us. And Troost-Ekong with the ball at his feet never really ends well, as we've seen in the last few weeks. So I don't want to sound overly harsh to Troost-Ekong because there are some positive elements to his game, and I think he certainly seems to be good for the dressing room, but he's just not Premier League quality in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with you on the last one. I thought he was better yesterday than he was against Chelsea. For me,
I thought we did all right against Chelsea. Actually, got some really good blocks in there.
Yeah,
that's what he's good at, though. He's good at putting himself down. What I'd say Troost-Ekong would be good at is if we're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go and we want to go to 3 at the back, bring on a centre half, just to head everything away, block everything that comes his way. That's the sort of time I'd bring Troost-Ekong on, but not to start. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Charlotte says Kabasele and Sierralta, if he's fit, need to be back in the side ASAP. I think Sierralta is going to be a push really for Friday. But as Nick says, Kabasele coming back in may be a hindrance rather than a help. Surely not sharp enough yet. As Nick says, it is a gamble, Sam, if we chuck him in there. But is it a gamble that it's worth taking because of that back line? I think as a collective, it hasn't been good enough, really, particularly yesterday in terms of individual errors. But I just to read a stat out here, right? So in terms of goals conceded so far this season, we've conceded 29, which is averaging just under 2 goals a game, which is 1.93. I mean,
not good enough. That
17 goals we've conceded at home, 12 away.
Yeah,
sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, and we're relying on the attack too much as well. Because I've got no doubt that at some point, I say I've got no doubt. This isn't doubting Dennis because he's been absolutely unbelievable. But there will be periods in the season where he goes through a little bit of a drought. And we can't expect him to sort of bail us out every single week. João Pedro's looked really sharp in the last couple of games, but he's a young kid. We can't be relying on the attack to sort of bail us out every single week. And there are certain games where we're going to have to rely on our foundations. I look at Burnley, where they're going to look to make it a scrappy game, where they're going to try and nick goals on the break. And it's going to be difficult for our attacking players to sort of make a real impact. And that's where we have to rely on the defensive foundations to make sure it's tight at the back. And that's what worries me. The lack of clean sheet, the lack of they don't seem to be working together as a unit at times. And that's what's really worrying. And it has to be turned around.
And yeah, you're right there, mate, in terms of there is actually only so much Ranieri can do. Because the same mistakes we're seeing under Ranieri, we saw them under Xisco, we saw them under Ivic, less so actually, but we've seen them over the years at Watford.
You can go back, Nigel Pearson, Kike Flores, it's the same ones. It's lack of investment as well. We're not going to talk about investment now.
Yeah. We have to bring it. It's just glaringly obvious, isn't it? I think. Yeah. Do you agree? We need a left back, at least one centre back. I actually said a right back. I don't think we will, but I think a left back and a centre back.
I'm a big fan of Jeremy Ngakia. I thought Kiko actually. I know you said you didn't think he had the best game. I thought he did all right actually. Obviously, it wasn't his best game, but I don't think he was absolutely dreadful. I thought he had a good game. I thought he had a good game against Chelsea as well, actually. And I think Ngakia as well. I don't think right back's as much of a problem. Perhaps in the summer it's something to address, but January the left back's the priority for me. Because, you got Nkulu, Sierralta coming back as well. As I said, I don't think Troost is that bad of a backup if you want to bring him on for 5-10 minutes at the end. Kabasele, Cathcart. I think left back is the absolute must for me.
Yeah, I have to. Well, it's just what with Kiko, I really like Kiko. I just don't think in those sort of games, I think Ngakia would have been the better choice, maybe. Obviously, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. But I think Kiko's really good when he's against teams like Friday night, where he will be able to bomb forward and get involved with the attacking play. When he's playing against a team where you're sitting off and not having a lot of the ball, I don't think Kiko, that isn't his best game, because ultimately, I think Gary Neville made the comment. Do you remember we lost to West Ham away? And on this commentary...
3-0, wasn't it?
3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, Deeney scored. It was the one where we all knew we were getting relegated at that point. And he said, Kiko to me just looks like a winger.
Yeah.
He was like as a attacking fullback, one of the best outside the big teams, I'd say. Defensively, though, not the same level. But be interested to see what we do in the January transfer window. There's some good comments actually here. There was one above. Last thing I'll say, so Mr. T is going to watch the rest back later. So thanks, mate. Last thing I'll say before I watch the rest back: sign a centre back like Mangala, free agent, and a left back to cover Messina. So would you get him a left back to go straight into the team, Sam, or would it be someone just to cover?
Well, I think it seems like Messina's out for the foreseeable future. That's the thing. There's been no indication as when he's out. Same as Sarr, by the way. I've got no idea when Sarr's back. I said my fear is that it's probably ACL. But I'm not 100%. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But I think, and also Messina will be off in to AFCON as well if he's fit in time. So I think certainly a starting left back. But he makes a good point with Mangala. I'm not saying specifically him, but I do think we'll have a look at the free agent market like we did with Nicholas and Kulu. Money's tight, and we have to be honest, there's a possibility we'll get relegated. It's very much in the mix. It's very 50-50 at the moment. So we can't be spending ridiculous money on centre halves because it will ruin it. It will ruin us. So I think the free agent market is something we have to look at.
There's a comment here by VJ who says, "Why did we sell Wilmot?"
on that, I know it's not Wilmot related, but it wouldn't shock me if we recalled Matty Pollock. He's having a really good loan, and I could see us recalling him.
Charlotte says selling Wilmot was a big mistake. Again, time will tell, but certainly when we look at the options we've got in situations like this, it does make you think about that. I mean, I don't really know what else. Is there anyone else we missed out? Anyone in particular you thought? I mean, Sissoko, actually, that's who I wanted to talk about, Sam. Sissoko, he's been at a consistent level, 7 and 8 out of 10 really since he's come to Watford. And Ranieri, again, getting the best out of these players because man management wise, he's probably one of the best around. Seen it all in the game before. But on a word on Sissoko, I feel just looking at him, he's become kind of a mainstay of the Watford team. And, if you feel if he has a good game, Watford overall have a good game, particularly at midfield. Yeah,
exactly. A proper leader as well. I really like Sissoko. I thought the first couple of games, I really questioned him. I remember that I think it was the first half at Norwich, and I was thinking, does he really do that much? But he's massively stepped up, particularly taking the captain's armband. He's been absolutely superb. He drives us forward. He's almost the perfect counter-attacking player because he can run through hundreds of plays if he could. One criticism everyone knows, there's Tottenham fans that said it, he can't shoot. He just can't shoot. There was one midweek against Chelsea where he mishit the shot from quite close, and one last night which I think probably went over the rookery. So but overall it's been absolutely superb. The one I was going to mention was João Pedro. I think first half yesterday he looked really, really dangerous. Against Chelsea, I thought he looked really, really good. And I think we are seeing a fully fit João playing with confidence. I think Claudio's put João under his arm, and he looks really good, and he's going to be important for us this season.
Yeah, 100%. I like him off the left as well, Sam.
Yeah,
I feel like with him cutting in, and that's where you need, João. João's been playing really well, but also, Rose wasn't really supporting João going forward. Maybe he was trying to stay back. But he's kind of doing it all on his own on the left-hand side. And Dennis did a really good job. And you're thinking, well, he set the level really high there. And João's just taking it over. I mean, Sam, look at the front line. Cucho comes on yesterday, puts in a great shift. I thought he was really good when he came on. Going forward, I don't think it's one of probably the best attacking lines I've seen from Watford in the Premier League. But
we haven't even mentioned Sarr
with the defence, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Sarr coming back at some point this season. We don't know when. It's just it's promising, because I remember the problem when we got relegated was we were saying there's problems at both ends. We need centre half, a left back, and a striker. I remember saying, and we only signed Nacho Passetto. Now it's the striking going forward. It's absolutely not a problem. Midfield's not a problem either, I'd say. It's just the defence that we need to work on, and it's really good problems for Ranieri to have as to who starts up front.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to also see if he has any influence over signings in January, because I do feel Nkulu was a recommendation from him. I mean, I think, you know, he's only just left Serie A with Sampdoria. Nkulu was playing for Torino, I believe, at that time.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that was under the recommendation of Claudio. And I think the relationship that Claudio has with the Pozzos mean I think we could see for once in a little bit of time, a manager have a bit more control over transfers.
He's experienced though as well. He's different to anyone we've had, because he's someone in the game who's done everything by being trusted by other owners. Xisco Munoz, I can understand why the Pozzos took control, because Xisco ultimately doesn't have much experience. Same as Vladimir Ivic, Kike Flores. And I think that it's different here with Ranieri. I think we have to trust him, and he can bring in the players that he wants.
Sure. Before we wrap up, Sam, have you got to go, mate?
Yeah, I need to go. Yeah.
Okay. I'll wrap it up. But one player I wanted to shout out quickly: Imran Loser.
Baller.
Keep an eye on him, mate. Who called it?
Baller. Yeah,
watch out. Honestly, you know what? I love him in that role. That just dictating the play.
I didn't think it was the right game for him yesterday. Actually, I thought I would have started Kutska over Loser.
Yeah, agreed.
Nothing against Loser. I've been absolutely brilliant, but probably the better game for Kutska.
Absolutely agree. Is there any more comments? I think that's it. Right, short one today. Hope under Ranieri is the title. We certainly have more belief going into the next 5 fixtures. Brentford up next on Friday night. I'm not going to be there. Sam is going to be there, which is, you know, I'm very jealous of Sam. I couldn't make it in the end, but it should be a great atmosphere. Live on Sky as well. So we should be back probably Saturday, Sunday for our thoughts on that one. Sam, are you going out tonight? Is it a big?
I'm not going out. I've got some mates downstairs. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Have a few drinks. Have a Marathi on Messina. Take care of yourself, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to WD18. We'll see you very soon.